So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode 2 of Not Your Day Job podcast. I just blanked out for a second. But I have a great guest here. My boy Jonathan. I met him years ago. And again, you know, this is another person, another creative out here who has been grinding for a while. And so I wanted to have him come on to the podcast because I was like, man, there's probably a lot of knowledge that people can learn from, and we can kind of understand how the videography game goes and the cinematography game. So in any case, as I ask everyone now, so what would you say is your profession? So what is your profession out here?
So in the past, I really used to focus on saying videographer, but lately I felt like it's more like content creator.
Okay.
Just because there's multiple formats to videography nowadays, and
Okay.
there's a lot of ways to put it out, a lot of ways to do it. But I feel like the focus really is just getting people's attention.
Okay.
So it really doesn't matter if it's video, photos, goddamn GIFs.
Hey, okay, I got you.
You gotta make whatever it is, you know?
So you kind of just see yourself as an all-around content creator. So you don't really put yourself in a box to be just like a videographer. You're just like...
I don't like to put myself in a box with opportunities at all, because...
Scoot this closer.
You know, like many people, you start something with one vision and it shifts and it grows over time. And, you know, I started off from wanting to shoot the biggest rappers or whatever it was to, you know, wanting to do bigger things now and
got you.
You know, really do some life-changing stuff.
Okay.
You know?
So I would say, like, what was maybe like what kind of got you into it? Was this something that was like a passion since like middle school, high school, or did something just kind of happen maybe during college and you say, you know what, that's my thing?
So it's interesting you mentioned during college, because I used to go to Valencia Community College back when it was a community college.
Gotcha.
And
it's changed?
It's a university now.
What?
But,
okay, Seminole State College. I remember when it was Seminole State and it was community college.
Right.
And Valencia's changed too?
I guess now they got actual degrees or something. I really don't know.
That's crazy. I didn't know that, because I still know people go to Valencia and then they usually like go to UCF after that.
Yeah. But I was at Valencia. I had a full ride scholarship, believe it or not, to a community college. It was great, you know. I didn't have to pay a dime for anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it was one of those things where, you know, you get it for free and you take it for granted. And I was maybe 3.5, almost 4 years into a 2-year community college, you know.
Yeah.
Wasn't really serious about it, and I had a seasonal job working for a company that had us pretty much working for Canon.
Okay.
In Best Buy stores. So it was a third-party company who was selling the cameras in the stores during the holidays.
Yeah, and I used to work at Best Buy, so yeah, I know how.
Oh, okay, you know.
So I know the game go. Yeah,
you know, I was a brand rep pretty much.
Yeah,
and,
right.
I didn't even take that serious at first because, you know, they were trying to find a second guy because they wanted to sell DSLRs and point and shoots, and I just recommended one of my cousins, so we was both doing it.
Oh, okay,
chilling.
Got you. Okay.
And I was doing the point and shoots. I wasn't even doing the DSLRs.
Okay.
They gave me one for the season. You know, they're like, if you take photos with it, it'll help you sell more cameras and meet your quotas, yada yada.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm kind of in this period where I'm not really doing much. I'm not focused on much.
Gotcha.
And somebody gives me a little point and shoot camera, and I'm like shooting with it all the time. I'm fucking shooting and driving.
Yeah.
I'm doing all kinds of crazy shit. And it's not even a real good camera, you know. It's just
but you're having fun though,
so
like because I remember that, like just getting one of the first cameras I had was like a video camera, was a Sony Handycam. Sony Handycam. And I saved up so much money to get it. I was in high school, I had a job, and then I was like filming everything, taking it to school with me every day, filming, getting on the bus, filming in the hallways, filming rap battles behind the gym. And I just was like, Man, but when I look back at it, I'm like, what was that camera like? Maybe like 480p, like you know,
right.
Oh man, so it's crazy, but yeah. So you started with the point and shoots, and
so yeah, I was doing that, and then I was actually looking into the school I went to, Full Sail University.
Okay, fellow Full Sail,
right.
yeah.
I was looking into it for music.
Okay,
and I met someone at a second job I had at Adidas. And they kind of just convinced me to look into Full Sail for film. And so I guess the combination, you know, going crazy with this camera and looking into Full Sail, I was like, I'm going to do it. I didn't know anything about taking pictures, doing videos, editing. I didn't know nothing, none of that. You know, if I had a computer, it was to make papers. That was it. Papers.
Okay, gotcha.
And I got into it, and, you know, luckily I was like approved for the crazy huge loan. I didn't think that was gonna happen, and I was like, okay, you know, the moment it happened, I was like, you know what, I gotta like live this. This is gonna be my life now. I'm gonna learn all I can about this, and I don't want to fail.
Got you.
And
and I feel like that's one thing. Going to Full Sail especially, and since you've been there, and I feel like a lot of young people out there who are just getting out of high school, you know, trying to figure out what they want to do, and especially if they are trying to be a creative, they look at Full Sail commercials, and it's very glamorous. You know,
I think I know who shoots them now. They really good.
Yo, they really good. They've gotten even better over time. It makes you feel like, man, I'm going to Florida. I'm going to like this Hollywood like campus, and but what people have to realize is, I understand. It is a great place to make connections. You do learn a lot. That's 100% correct.
Yes.
However, you do have to put in the work. It's not a cheat code. I think a lot of people go to Full Sail and they say, I have Full Sail on a degree, and that's a cheat code. No, it's not. It's not. No one, to be perfectly honest, me, and I don't know if you experience it the same, but you can go out here and be grinding, doing whatever you're doing, but you say, oh yeah, and also I went to Full Sail. People are like, okay, what do you do? Let me see your work. You know,
I said that, like, you know, we're on this podcast, and I mentioned that for the purpose of like my story, but normally when I'm like talking to people about video, I don't even like to mention it because, you know, I went there for a long time. I met a lot of people. I kind of took it serious, but I took what I was doing outside of school more serious.
Gotcha.
But I met some people who weren't taking anything serious. You know what I'm saying? They weren't doing nothing. I met some people who took the program serious. So I kind of just like to stand on my own too, and I like to associate myself with the school to an extent. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But it is a great place to go and to learn, like you said. But it's no different than going anywhere else. It's different than doing it, you know, on your own and learning online. Obviously, because of the scheduling differences and stuff like that. But you know, you can do a lot of that on your own. You can learn most of that on your own. The purpose, I think, of going to Full Sail is to get hands-on with things.
Gotcha.
And the more you learn on your own, the more you network, you will get those opportunities to get hands-on with things in the real world. That's one thing nobody told me beforehand, you know?
Yeah,
even after. I just learned that on my own, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's important too. One thing I tell any students going there as an alumni, you know, I tell people, understand you're going to learn a lot, but please go out there and network. That's how you are going to get your job, your gigs, to really get started to make money after. So many people will complain and say, you know, I went to Full Sail, but so many Full Sail people I know are working at like the Chili's down the street.
You know?
And I just said, you know, people's lives are different, so I don't clown people or anything of that nature because you work at Chili's. I don't know what happened personally to you in your life. So maybe you've hit a hard time. There's a lot of, when you get out of college, there's a lot of decisions where you're going to be. Are you going to stay here? You're going back home. Maybe home is states away. Who know, you know. So I don't know your story. However, I do tell people that the reason why I even got, my job at a Full Sail being a web developer was because I was networking and I was being really good, really close with my instructors. And one of my instructors, his brother-in-law who is my boss now. So it's those types of things that you do and you got to network. So my question to you is, what was kind of that first thing, like who did you network with to kind of get like your first, I guess, gig, like that you really got, that you really was like, oh man, now I'm doing it. I'm really out here doing what I want to do. Like, what was that first connection?
I will say that it's not necessarily one person,
Okay.
but I started off, mostly Kyle. As one of my friends, he got me mentally prepared, I guess, going into Full Sail and then being there. He showed me a lot of things and what it really was like. So, and not just Full Sail necessarily, but just hustling, just trying to get out there. But I wasn't necessarily getting paid doing anything. I was just kind of figuring myself out. It wasn't even about the cameras and stuff back then. It was just about straight learning. And he definitely put me in that position, or helped me get to that position. And then Keep It Exclusive is one of the brands I work with now. And he was the one that kind of got me in that position where I could start, charging for things and not just charging, but like really being in cool positions, that I really wanted to be in, because I started with this in 2013, and that's kind of when the social media age was really going crazy.
Okay, yeah.
Or at least Instagram.
And, that changed the game.
And I don't really remember seeing a ton of filmmakers at first on Instagram.
True.
But I definitely remember noticing people and being like, damn, if I could just, get there or do this or do that. And, my boy Keep It Exclusive got me started with that and figuring out something different than what I was just learning in school, and
so what would you say, like, because you were talking about you were starting to make money at that time, and I think that's one thing that's a struggle for a lot of creatives, because I think it's really hard when, like, if you already have a name, it's easy for you to go out and just tell people, here's my price.
Right.
Like, approach me with money.
Right.
And when you are starting out and everyone, especially when people know you, they just feel like, in my personal experiences, that sometimes they go and just like, I can get things for free.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're trying to say, hey, but I'm really trying to do this. And they kind of look at you like, oh, you're just that person that I know, instead of somebody who's out here really trying to work. Like, I'm trying to make this, a career. And so what has it been a challenge, or what were the challenges starting out to like making money, setting your prices? Did you have a problem or an issue, or learning how to set your prices and things of that nature?
I mean, I'm still kind of working on that, to be honest with you. I'm like 6 years.
Okay.
Next month I'll be 6 years in to filmmaking, and I'm still working on that because it's just different across the board to me. Like, everything, my time is very valuable to me.
Gotcha. But
I kind of like to know where I'm going sometimes. So, like, if I'm working with a company, obviously, there's money there. Nobody can deny. You talking to Pepsi, goddamn.
Yeah, right. I got
Can't nobody say we ain't got it.
Right, exactly, right.
But you talking to somebody else who's grinding independently around, on a different market or whatever. It's you kind of gotta adjust your price for that, and that's where knowing what you want to do really comes into play. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can be that dude that sets his prices across the board and doesn't bend, doesn't break. You know what I mean? That's more power to you if that's who you are. But not everybody's like that. I'm not personally like that. You know, I'm personally more social with people, and I like to work with other videographers, not just brands and companies, you know, but I like to collaborate with people. And I like to work on new, different things all the time. So, knowing your price is kind of, I mean, I guess maybe if you have an agent, it's easier. I haven't gone that route, I haven't really explored that. But me personally, it's kind of a thing where it's always going to be something to think about. So what you should establish with yourself, though, is, you know, a starting price. Once you've done a certain amount of things, or, you know, you have a diverse what's it called, portfolio, where you know, worked on different things, you should kind of get a feel for what it takes to get each thing done, and what part of it you want to do, whether you want to do the whole thing or you just want to direct or whatever, and get a price for that. Because then when you are collaborating with other people, or when you are doing something for free, you know how much you're giving up, and you know what you're turning away from, and that's important to know too, you know.
Yeah.
But pricing will always be a thing, in my opinion.
Got you. Yeah, and I think that is like well said, because the one key thing I take away from what you just said is setting a price. And the last thing I heard, when people say setting the price, I don't hear a lot of people setting their price at zero.
You know?
So I always tell people, my main thing is set a price. Like, set a price that's, I don't know, I don't care. I mean, I'm not saying that you lowball yourself or anything of that nature, but charging something makes people take you some type of serious. I feel like, for me personally, there is a line of don't budge. Like, I can't go below $100.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
I just can't. It's not beneficial to me, especially you're not the super close friend of mine that I'm willing to help or something, or I'm not getting a benefit back out of this that's worth it. I have to charge.
Yeah,
I have to charge something, because if I get known as Joe's a dude that will go shoot your red carpet interviews for freebies all the time, then that's the only thing that I'm going to be approached with.
There's red carpet interviews every day.
Freebie. Everybody's going to be like, hey man, get him, call Joe. So, and so I don't want other creatives. I tell people all the time, if you are not charging, especially when I see that your work is really good, then you're doing a disservice to yourself and to the community, because the other people in the community trying to get paid, they can't get the jobs because you got them all mopped up
for free.
So don't do that. You know, keep it pushing. Don't do that to the community. But a fun question I was gonna ask, just because everyone talks about this in a sense, you know, I deal with videography, getting into a little bit of cinematography, working on web series. So just a fun question. What brands do you like? What would you say for videography? Like, what's your top 3 camera brands? Who do you kind of go to, or like, who's your brand that you like to go to? And for cinematography, like, what camera brand do you like to go to?
You're talking about like the actual camera makers?
The camera, just the
manufacturers.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, I own a Sony. I own one Sony.
Okay.
And, we have 2 in the household, so I'm on Sony.
Okay, so
you know
so
I mean?
fellow Sony user on the dark side,
but
I know.
But Canon to me is a staple. In photography, videography, film, anything where there's a lens or a camera or both. Canon, like they're just there.
Okay.
Projectors, I think they make projectors.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
All that, you know. Panasonic, I think, is great. I see some of the things that they're doing. You know, they got the GH5 and 5S.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
And aside from that, the GH4 was solid. They got other cameras as well.
Low light wasn't as good, but the GH5 and 5S kind of cleared that up a little bit. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, Panasonic all around, I think they're good. Black Magic is really... I don't really want to talk much about them, but I will say that they are... I like that company, and I think that it's they're going in the right direction. I think one day they may be one of the top companies.
You know what? That's very interesting because I don't get a lot of people nowadays, especially when they start doing it more professionally at your level. A lot of people I don't hear give Blackmagic a lot of credit.
Man, they make everything though. Like, I mean, if you look, because videography is one thing. Cameras, lenses, monitors, mics, stuff like that. Cool. But if you look at all the other kinds of, film, I guess, there's live events. They make everything for that. If you look at
Doing live TV shows, not even just live events, but if you're doing production in house, like doing like
production.
a newscasting.
If you buy one of their cameras, even what's the new one? Not the micro, but the Pocket.
It's the Pocket cinema camera, the 4K.
You can get into a number of things where you're not just shooting music videos out and about. You could be shooting broadcast stuff, literally in the studio, man. And that's what I'm saying. That's like a different level to play with, because you can't really do that with Sony. You can, but you kind of got to jump through some hoops. Panasonic, I don't really know. I think they might have some broadcast stuff, but that flexibility, man, it's like it's really great.
See, my own thing that I've ever had a problem with Blackmagic, I thought always Blackmagic had a place to me as far as cinema goes because they kept things fairly low price. Compared to the competition,
right?
But the problem that I had mostly was either something has to suffer for the price.
Always,
and it's just always what it is. It's kind of like, for example, like Rokinon, right? Everyone's familiar when they start out with Rokinon lenses,
beautiful,
and then you get them. And I still have a Rokinon lens somewhere.
You don't look at them too
but
hard,
I don't really know, because once I went to a G Master lens and then I started to see the clarity, the difference in chromatic aberration. I'm not trying to get too technical for the audience, but the quality overall was so different that I was like, oh, I get why this is a $300 lens versus a $2,000 lens that I own. And so So going back to Blackmagic is, so how it's like when you look at the camera, when it came out, the Blackmagic Pocket camera, the 4K, and I said, okay, this is gonna be great. I said, really, all I was looking forward to was probably something that had better codecs now, everything, more ProRes codecs, stuff like that, 10-bit color grade, possibly give me 4K 60 frames a second if you make it bigger, and then but you have to give me a bigger battery. The batteries on the old Pocket cameras were crap. You wouldn't need 8 batteries to get through a day. It was bad. And so moving forward, once it finally came out, I said, great, it's bigger. It's not really a Pocket camera anymore. It can't really fit.
I wouldn't call it Pocket.
But they had to keep the branding, but it was bigger. And I said, that's fine. It's a little bigger than a mirrorless camera. Great, I'm rocking with that. Screen looks good, menus, Excel, sound inputs, all that stuff, like you said, ready for like production work. Then people started hitting it with the downfalls, and the main downfall overall was it just seemed that shooting footage, when you get so used to shooting a GH5S especially, or A7S, or even going to a 1DX Mark II, and you start shooting with some of these cameras and they're cleaner at certain low light and certain things, and then you see the Blackmagic is not holding up. Those are those things where you're like, oh, that's why you're at the $1,400 price range. That's why even the camera I'm recording that's $2,000 brand new versus a brand new 4K Blackmagic cinema camera, which is only $1,400. It's like, what is that $600 difference? Oh, I get it. Yeah, you might have all the 10-bit and all that stuff, and I don't have that. But if I go out here and I shoot in certain scenarios, like I don't have autofocus. at all.
Hold on. I
but
mean,
you don't need
into it, but you don't have autofocus?
No.
Oh,
you have simple autofocus, which is somebody's in a frame, it's cinema level, so they're thinking you're manually focusing anyway, which I would agree. So for any professionals, hit me up saying, dude, you wouldn't autofocus on a film, and I'm like, you're right. But what I'm saying is, for the price point, who are you targeting? You're targeting on the go people.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean when I say that Blackmagic is really flexible. But it's kind of like a love-hate kind of thing.
Right.
It's almost like...
So I'm not trying to rag on them. I'm saying that I think for all the pluses for it, I think the pluses override the minuses. Because if you are rigging it up, then you're probably not going to worry about the battery life, because you can wire that thing in. You're not going to worry about the autofocus. Right. Because you're going to have a focus puller. You're going to have a cinema lens. So at the end of the day, those things go out the window. The one thing I love, and I would spend if I was just doing cinema level or video, the reason why the $1,400 is a steal is because you get a great camera, and the menu system is way better.
Yeah, than a lot of these cameras, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's like a love-hate thing, like you said. It's I have my opinions on it, but would you say, do you still use autofocus a lot for your work, or are you, because you talked about doing filmmaking too, and so I wonder, do a lot of videographers start to go towards saying, I got a focus puller, like
So when I started, I was like, auto what? You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
on auto.
Okay.
I was that dude out there. I was literally out there sometimes with a C300 and cine lenses, and I was manually pulling focus to the point where
a skill,
I would do photo shoots with a 6D. Sometimes I used the 5D and use the cine lenses, the Canon CNEs, manual focus. So not only is it manual, but it's big, big.
Yeah. Those things
I would
heavy.
be focusing them.
Yeah.
And I might be collabing with someone else, and they'll be like, "How the hell are you doing this? Let's put a 17 to 40 on it. Let's put a 16 to 35." And I'm like, "Nah, hold on, man. This is smooth." And I was good with it. I was really good. Then I started getting the Rokinons, and I was really crazy with the autofocus. I love the 85. I mean, with the manual focus.
Yeah.
I love the 85 and the 24. I had a 35 too, but I use the other two more often. And same thing, doing photo shoots and all that kind of stuff. Rack focus and everything to death.
That's crazy though. And the reason why I say that is because I was at that point where all my lenses was manual focus, because I couldn't afford the autofocus lens. It's just that price point at the time was not there. And so it is crazy to hear that you went through multiple jobs like that, like just manual focus.
And now I got my Sony, and I just started using stabilizers. I got the WeBuild Lab.
Oh yeah, you one of the first people I ever heard on the street. I really got it
because it was different,
bro. But, I didn't even know it was out. I was like, how did you get it?
I waited for it,
bro. That's crazy.
I wanted to change it, but the lab, what's it called? The Crane 3 lab ain't out yet.
Yeah.
So I'm sticking with the WeBuild. I wanted to change it for the Ronin S too, but I'm just gonna stick with it. But
here's my thing though, just a quick jab at that. It might be, from what I've heard, and maybe you can tell me, what is the weight limit on the WeBuild Lab?
6 pounds. So
that's the only reason why I would say, if I was a Zhiyun user, I would go and wait for the Crane 3 Lab. For me, only because holds more weight. So right now, because I don't have, we don't have all the money in the world. I wish I could I want to buy another lens, something that is smaller, but I use my 24 to 70 for everything pretty much. And mounting that on a Ronin S is awkward heavy. So even if I had, granted, Ronin S can fit, I've seen on YouTube videos, it can fit you can fit a red on it. You can fit a Canon C200 on it. You can fit an Ari on it. And they're like, it will balance out better because the cinema lenses with the body is easier to balance, apparently.
I've even seen people putting like 70 to 200s, which, you know, a cine lens is heavy, but a 70 to 200 is long as hell.
What?
And really, sometimes it's not just the weight, but the length, you know, and kind of all that
awkwardness of
So I was gonna say, you know, with the Weeble Lab, I've been using it because I have like a little kit lens, the 16 to 50. And man, I've been blown away because the A6300 works really well with it. It works better in low light than I thought. You know, I used to use my adapter with my Rokinon and you know my 1 point whatevers, and you know I started using the kit lens and it was good. So then I went on and got like a little 50 1.8 Sony. Now I'm looking into other Sony lenses, but they good. It's just nothing's better than Canon glass. But
wait a minute, I would have to hold against you.
I'm sorry,
there.
I just jumped in.
I have to hold against you on that.
Man.
Here's my thing. All right, Canon glass will be, for now, it is undefeated for how much glass you can find at the quality you can. There's no one.
The ranges, like if you're looking for 1 point whatever, they got it. If you're looking for 2.8s, got it. F2s, got it.
Got them. And so I will say this, thanks to Sigma, and thank you, Sigma. Sigma has been like really saying, okay, we're trying to get Sony up there. So they've been making a lot of Sony E-mounts.
They just dropped 5 of them.
Yeah. So we're starting to close the gap a little bit, but granted. But I don't know, man. The Sigma art is just as good to me.
I will say this. I haven't used an E-mount Sigma, you know, on the Sony yet. So I don't know. I've only used the Sigmas through the adapters, you know, because it's crazy that the 18 to 35 ain't dropped E-mount yet. They still Canon and I think Nikon or Micro Four Thirds.
I don't know if they want to drop. You know, I don't even think they'll drop an 18 to 35.
They need to.
I don't know, man. I think they have. What was the one that people love so much? It's like a 16 to 35. People love that one. People don't want the 18 to 30. They like the 16 to 35 Sigma. They're like that's the one. I don't know.
Maybe
I don't think they're gonna do it.
I don't know.
I don't think they're gonna do it. But I feel like I will say Canon's a little bit in a weird space because they do have so much glass and you have to kind of adapt it. But the one thing I will give to them that I really like so much is Canon with their mirrorless camera that they just dropped, the EOS R. It's not where it needs to be. It's their first attempt.
Yeah.
They kind of are still behind with that attempt. Like that 4K got a heavy crop on it. And that's what a lot of people were like, you failed me. But I give them credit. It's the first one. I guarantee you they in the lab right now with the second version. No crop on the 4K. Like, I'm waiting for it because Canon already said, like, don't worry. We're going to have our glass right, this and the third. So I'm rooting for them because the more and more these people succeed, then everybody gets good stuff. Yeah. So bringing it back in, so working with all these like cameras and things of that nature, like what's been like the hardest time that you've had with like equipment on a set? Like what would be like your time that you're like, oh man, like dealing with any equipment, camera, lens, audio, like.
Well, I'm not the biggest audio guy, so I have tried to use a lot of audio stuff, man, and I've done it all, plugging it in backwards, not putting things in the right place, all that. With lighting, I'm more proficient, I want to say. I understand lighting a little bit better. And, going back to it, one thing I couldn't learn, like, on the street was some of the things I learned at Full Sail, dealing with HMIs and bigger lights, a 5K light versus a 600 watt light, you know what I mean? So I'm better with lighting and grip stuff. I kind of get how it works. Camera is funny, man, because you can know as much camera as you want, man, but they coming out so different nowadays, and everybody's having their own stuff, and it's just always something new to learn. It's almost like working on different cars, bro.
Gotcha, okay.
So like I remember the first time I used the GH4, it was somebody else's, but I wanted to throw it across the room, man. Because
wow.
the menu system, and then I'm working as a DP, and I have a director, and they have the touch screen.
Yeah.
And he's just like, no, let's change this, and I'm just like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, man,
Exactly.
mid shot, I couldn't do it. And so, it was cool, but with Canon, you can't do that,
Yeah, gotcha.
But I have worked with the REs, not as crazy with the Reds. I've only shot with like 2 of them. But they kind of not that hard to deal with, in my opinion. I guess when you get to that level, everything kind of has more of a purpose.
Yeah.
And if you see something, you kind of know where it fits. In my opinion.
What would you say in the process is this whole process of being a videographer, cinematographer, just a creative overall? What would you say is one of the, I guess, biggest lessons learned? I mean, with anything, not just with equipment, but just like business.
Well, the biggest lesson learned. Let me think. I definitely, as cliche as it sounds, man, I think networking is really the biggest thing. And not just doing it, but learning how to do it, man. And, I've ran around, my city, or this city, Orlando, for I want to say the better part of like 3 years or so, almost 4 years, doing video. I've jumped around the country, and it gets hard to keep up with all the people you meet, and you do meet a lot of great people doing this. But the biggest thing I would say is, learning not to charge people for other people's mistakes, man. Networking, I think, has been the thing that will get you not just the most work, man, but just opportunities, man. Sometimes, you'll start and, you might have never left your city, and networking, you might get an opportunity where it's not like a lot of money, but they're gonna get you out the country, And if you ain't never been out the city, going out the country is crazy. So,
And I've never been out the country. I've been out of my city. I've been to different cities, but definitely haven't been out the country. And I've heard,
So, I guess just learning as you go along, because you start to kind of get comfortable with it, and you start to think, okay, well, this is how things are, And just when you know how things are, there's like a plot twist, And just when you're like, oh, well, these people in this kind of area are kind of like BS, and these people are serious. It's not really like that, So just being open and networking and continuously meeting new people, and just be nice, man. Not nice where you get ran over, but nice where you're like real with people. And the biggest thing I've found that's gotten me not just the most work but the most opportunities is just being helpful. And as a professional, anything, people kind of hire you to fix problems. And that's one thing I had to learn early on. If you don't know how to fix any problems, then you know what I'm saying, you're only gonna be so useful. So, and I'm not just talking about technical things, man. I'm a really technical person, but someone who's social can smoothen out problems that I can't.
Gotcha.
And I think that's been the biggest lesson. I've worked with a lot of different camera systems, like we just went over, and I've done a lot of technical stuff. But dealing with people has been what kind of keeps me really going.
Okay.
I mean, especially if, you're in this kind of business where you're always looking for clientele. Some people, they do their creative things and they make what they make and they get, compensated off of that somehow. But when you're always looking for new clients, or when you're always working with clients, it's only hurting you if you start to close doors.
Gotcha. So talking about networking, so what are your goals like, I guess, for 2019? So, we're starting off the new year. I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions because
me
no
neither.
one keeps those things.
Me neither.
No one just. So I talk real talk. I'm like, what do you want to do? What are you aiming for? Not for resolution, but something that you're like, no, this is really what I want to do. So what? How do you want to progress yourself creatively?
So this year, the two things that I want to do is definitely work with more companies, more brands, and I want to help, educate other filmmakers. I got a lot of things I can learn myself, but I definitely think that I know that I can teach people a lot of other things. Like I said, it's not always technical, but there is a lot of technical things to learn. It's really up to you how technical you want to be and what you want to do. But I think that like anything else, starting out, we have our vision of how things are gonna be, and you kind of need someone to come along and tell you, not the real, I don't really believe in that either, because the real is different for everybody, to be honest with you, but someone to come along and say, hey, this is how this technically works, and then this is how, with people, this is kind of like how I've found it to work. And you will find different approaches to doing business, not just talking to people, but actually doing business, doing numbers. You'll find different approaches to doing the technical side and all that. So this year, I definitely want to help a lot of people with that, because I feel like by giving back, we can all come up. I love to hire people, and people kind of know what they're doing, and we're trying to figure out what the play is going to be. But if you don't know how to do the simple things, sometimes we can't really even get to the play.
Exactly.
So
I think that's very, very rare that I hear that. I hear a lot of people talk about, you can't network in Orlando, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, those people who are willing to share knowledge, who are willing to help you, and you can gain so much by networking with people, but people are so afraid because they feel like a lot of people in Orlando are going to just they're just trying to get over one on you and things of that nature.
Man, everywhere you go, you're gonna find
that's
that.
Right. That's everywhere. So it's just all about really trying to find those right people, and I just keep telling people there are people out there who really genuinely just want you to do great. Yes, there's competition out there. I understand, but there's a lot of people who are not trying to, push you down just so that they can get your money or something of that nature. There's a lot of people who really just want to network and say, let's all get money together. Let's all, succeed. Man. So,
I'm one of those dudes. I'm not the craziest about being on the forefront of business. While I do have my goals and I do want to succeed financially, and I do put myself out there, I'm not the craziest about that. That's kind of why I mentioned earlier the Asian thing, and well, maybe I didn't say it, but I am thinking about eventually getting one. Just because, again, I'm not the craziest about that, but I do like to help build other people up. I'm really technical. I really like to get into the technical side. So I feel like by building up other brands and other companies a little bit, I can be all right. I can work more,
Gotcha.
If you can get a client and you can get a client and you can get a client, then we can do more work. But if I'm struggling to get any clients, then how much am I really working?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think that's, in my position, also how you create markets,
Gotcha.
I don't know that there really is like a stable market here or really anywhere, because like you said, a lot of people are willing to do things for free. Everybody has a different price. And if you're a client looking for great videography, you really do have a lot of options nowadays, because a lot of people are really like embracing the craft and really trying to master it. But by getting together, is how we eat forever, in my opinion. So
right. Well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and like end it on that point because I think that is a really good point to end off with is talking about that collaboration and just eating together, as you said. You know, it's a lot of people underestimate that. I think there's been a society built up in a lot of people's minds that you succeed alone.
Oh no,
And there's no way that, I'm sorry, name any top person. Steve Jobs isn't building Apple alone. Bill Gates isn't building Microsoft alone. Oprah's not building the Oprah Winfrey Show and network alone.
No.
Jay-Z didn't build Rockefeller. I can go on and keep naming names of people who've built empires. They didn't do it alone. Hype Williams doing videography back in the day. It can't be just one guy on a set with a camera. He has to have a crew. You can't do it alone. So I think that's a really good point to end off on. But thank you for coming through and talking. And I think there's a lot to learn. You know, there's a lot of good stuff that we got from you because, you know, talking about how you kind of started, somebody probably going to Full Sail may listen and be like, okay, cool. Like, okay, I see. I got to do this. I'm just over here just kind of like, I'm just doing my own thing, whatever. Hey, and you don't network. You don't talk to nobody. You just try to do it yourself.
There's no one way to do it. I just, again, was saying my way. But there's a million ways to get it, you know, and most importantly, I think by being active is how you get it, you know, by taking yourself out and being on the sidelines, not really doing much, I don't think you really get anywhere. So
gotcha.
Always got to keep that in mind.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming through. I ain't seen you in a minute. I'm glad you're doing good. Man. I appreciate you coming through. And yeah, we're going to wrap up there. So that's episode 2 of Not Your Day Job podcast, talking to Jonathan here. And again, he's not just a videographer. He does so many things, creative specialist for people. So if you need, you know, other things to be done too.
Creative specialist.
And there we go. I'm going to put that in there. It's going to be creative specialist right there. So thank you for tuning in. That's been episode 2. Tune in. More is going to be coming this year. We're going to probably do 2, at least minimum 2 a month until the schedule starts bumping up a lot more. But yeah, we're going to have some more stuff coming up. Tune in. And recommend anybody that you know who's around in the Orlando, Central Florida area. Definitely hit me up. I would like to feature them, put them on, and get their story. So, peace.
I got to add one thing.
Oh, sorry.
Only thing I want to add is, you know, you can see some of my work.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You're going to send me all the information. If you want to go do the shout out now, that's fine.
I'll just do it now. Yeah, you can see a lot of my work with, like I said, at Keep It Exclusive /exclusiveaccess.net. You can also look at the Frame brand. Definitely one place I do most of my work with now, actually. And Orlando Media Factory. I'm working with another company to start collaborating more often.
Okay.
But that's kind of like I said, man, working with other people is kind of how we all get the bag, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's dope. And I'm going to be posting all the links, getting them from him. It'll be in the description on YouTube when that drops. So thank you for tuning in. Peace.